So we're going to look into how to properly fill out an incident form. So it's the one located at the very top of your screen here. It says incident/near-miss report. So we'll select that. And this will open up the incident form. So if we scroll down a little further here, we'll see incident type. If we select that, this shows you all the different types of incidents that you might have when you would fill out one of these forms. So if you have a personal injury, or you have equipment damage, or equipment failure, then this could be a form that you would fill out for that incident. One of the common ones that you'll be doing this form for is a near miss, so at the very top right here. So if we go back to the main screen here, we'll just go up to the top and walk our way through doing a near miss. So we'll select our company. So Marksman Vegetation. We have in the next boxes, we have incident date and time and report date and time. So incident date and time is when the incident occurred, and report date and time is when you reported it. So let's say that this incident happened last week. So we'll say it happened February 26th. We'll say okay. Let's say it happened at 8:58 in the morning. However, even though the incident happened last week, we didn't get around to reporting it until today. So we'll select today as the time that we reported it. Report completed by. So this is just who it was that filled out this report. So if you click on this box, it's going to bring up a list of names of everybody that works for Marksman. So we'll just scroll through the list until you find your name and select it. So I'll say that it was myself that completed this report. Supervisor, manager in charge. We'll say that it was John who was in charge over this incident. Client. So in this list, we have a list of all the clients that we do work for at Marksman Vegetation. So if you were working for CNRL or Husky when you had an incident, in this area here, you would just scroll through until you find the company you're doing work for and select on them. So let's say that we were doing work for Elk Point South of CNRL. Specific area affected. So in this box, depending on the type of incident that you have, you could enter different options. So let's say you have a personal injury. You're walking around your truck and you go to step up onto your truck and your shin hits the ladder and you get a scrape on your shin. Specific area affected for personal injury, you would put down your shin. If you had a vehicle incident and you're driving in your truck and you get too close to equipment and you end up scraping the side of your truck off of some equipment. Specific area affected, you can say quarter panel on driver's side of truck. So this area is going to kind of differ depending on the type of incident that you choose to input based on the incident that you do have. So let's say for our incident, we're doing a near miss again. So a near miss is that it was a close call. You didn't get in an incident, but there was the potential there to have an incident. So let's say we're driving out to the Elk Point South field for CNRL, and it's early in the morning, and a deer is in the ditch and runs in front of us on the road. So that's a near miss because we didn't hit the deer. There was no vehicle damage. There was no personal injury, but there was the chance of either one of those things occurring. To that extent, if you're driving out to site and an animal doesn't run in front of you, but you see animals in the ditch, that is still also a near miss because still there was no personal injury, there was no vehicle damage, but the potential was always there for either one of those to occur. So for a specific area affected, we'll say none, as there was no area affected. Job affected by incident, we'll say none. Let's say again that you had a personal injury and you scrape your knee and you have to open up the first aid kit, or maybe you got a bad cut and you have to go to the hospital. For job affected by incident, you would put that down. So you would say, didn't work for 30 minutes as I had to use first aid kit to get bandaged up, or shut down work for the day, had to drive to hospital, whatever the case might be. But for a near miss here, our job wasn't really affected by this near miss at all. Task being performed, JHA. So our JHAs are our job hazard assessments. So these are forms which give a step-by-step take on how to do all the different tasks that you'll find on your day-to-day basis. So let's say hand spraying herbicide would be one of them. So if we scroll down here, we'll see hand spraying herbicide. So this JHA just gives you a step-by-step on how to hand spray herbicide. So it might be pull up on site, analyze what the site looks like and what the best way is to spray it. Get out of truck, turn on your pump, grab your spray gun, stretch out your spray hose. It's just a step-by-step of the task, of the procedure that you would take to do this. So if you're driving out to site, you'll just look to see if there's a JHA for that. So operation of a spray truck. Yes, you're operating the spray truck, you're driving out to site. So we'll select that as the JHA that you were performing when this incident occurred. Now we get down to incident type. So we select it. What type of incident was it? It was a near miss. Nobody got hurt. There was no personal injury. Chemical exposure, like there wasn't a line on the truck didn't explode and you didn't get covered in herbicide. There was no vehicle incident. You didn't hit any of the wildlife. Careless driving. There wasn't careless driving. You were going the speed limit. You were watching for animals and you noticed them ahead of time. So all we say for this is it was a near miss. We go back to the screen. So now we get to the description portion of this. So description of near miss. So here you'll just put down kind of exactly what happened that led to this near miss. So we'll say driving out to site, saw animals in the ditch, slowed down, one ran out in front of the truck. Put on brakes harder. Did not hit animal, but it was close. Okay, so our comments: driving out to site, saw animals in the ditch, slowed down, one ran out in front of the truck, put on brakes harder, did not hit animal, but it was close. So that's just a bunch of comments just saying exactly what happened in the situation. The more comments you have, the better. If you have certain comments and they don't fit in this box, the next area, other incident comments, you can just put some more comments here. So for example, we could say after near miss, continue to drive a bit slower out to site. Once we got to site, we took a 10-minute break to fill out a near miss form. So sometimes you might not have additional comments, but this box is here for when you do. So description of near miss, I'm just going to put in the description. Other incident comments, I might put in what my actions were post-incident. Was an employee affected by the incident? So this depends on a number of factors. If an employee had a personal injury, yes, he was affected by the incident. Um, Even in this situation that we just did with animals running in front of vehicles, was an employee affected by the incident? Probably not. However, if the employee was kind of shaken up by this, maybe this was a new experience for them, and they got a little rattled by it, then yes, you could say an employee was affected by the incident. Maybe they needed to, maybe they were so shooken up that they had to take the rest of the day off. Who knows what the situation might be? For the most part, if an animal runs in front of your vehicle, or if you see animals in the ditch and you fill out a near miss form, no, an employee was probably not affected by the incident. But this box is here. You select no or yes depending on the employee. So for this situation, we'll say no, an employee was not affected by the incident. Was a contractor involved? So if you're working on a site and there's a contractor parked around a corner and you don't see him and you end up hitting your vehicle off of his vehicle, that would be vehicle or equipment damage. Yes, a contractor was involved. For the incident that we just did, it was a near miss. It was just wildlife in the ditch. No, a contractor was not involved for this. Were emergency services required? If there's personal injury or a vehicle incident and paramedics show up or the police show up, whatever the case might be, you can say yes for emergency services. But we just had a near miss, so emergency services were not required. So now we get down to our our substandard actions and our substandard conditions. So if we click on this box where it says make a selection, we'll see substandard acts. So this is something that you might have done that led to this incident. So you can see failure to secure. Were you doing improper lifting? Were you in an improper position for the task? And then if we look at substandard conditions, this is more on the safety end of things that might have led to the incident. So this isn't something that you did per se, but it's maybe a guard wasn't in place, which led to the incident, or you were using a tool that was defective. You might not have known the tool was defective, but it was, and that's what led to this incident. So we'll select these. So we look at substandard acts. What led to you almost hitting a deer? You could say operating at improper speed. Maybe the speed limit was a 90 in the area you were driving, and you were going 100. When maybe it's dark out in the morning or foggy, and there's animals in the ditch, and you can't really see that well. So you could say that you were going too fast. If we keep looking down, we can see if there's any other reasons on this list. So failure to react / correct. You could say that maybe if you had an incident where you hit wildlife, maybe you were going too fast and they ran out in the vehicle and you didn't have enough time to slam on the brakes. For the purpose of this near miss, though, all we'll say is that we were operating at improper speeds. We were going too fast. If you remember back to the other comments that I entered, I said after the incident, we slowed down and drove out to site. So, it was kind of a wake-up call saying that we're going too fast, so we slowed down afterwards. But we'll say operating at improper speeds for substandard acts and for substandard conditions. So was there anything or any safety boundaries that weren't in place that led to this? So road conditions. We could say road conditions or weather conditions. So if it was dark and foggy out in the morning, we can say yes, weather conditions. It was foggy out, we couldn't see very well. That's part of the reason what led to this incident. We can look through and see if there's anything else that we can enter down. Road conditions, maybe let's say you're driving on a gravel road and there's lots of potholes in it and a deer runs out and it's hard to slow down because the road has potholes or the road's a bit muddy and slick. But we won't say that was the case here. So all we'll say is that weather conditions, it was foggy out, that played a part in this incident. Documentation, we're not going to say that we filled out any documents for this. If you have a personal injury or vehicle damage where you got in a car accident, then maybe you had a medic report or a physician's report. But for near misses, for the most part, you're not going to have to select any of these forms that you say that you filled out, and you won't really have to fill out any of them either. So for this, we'll just leave that blank. Actions taken within 24 hours to control the incident. So within 24 hours, Within 24 hours, what steps did we take to prevent this incident happening again? So for this, we could say we filled out a near miss form. That was one thing that we did. We filled out a near miss form. Maybe we notified our supervisor as well, just told them, like, if John's our supervisor, we'll say, hey, John, just letting you know, I had a near miss this morning. It was foggy out and a deer ran in front of us. We didn't hit it, but it was close. Maybe just let all the other employees know, or give them a heads up that in the morning when it's foggy, just go a bit slower because there's going to be wildlife on the roads. So that's another step you could take. You could make sure that you drive slower. So just make a mental note. Okay, early mornings when it's foggy out or dark, just ease off on the gas a little bit. Go a little slower. Scan ahead on the roads and on the shoulder of the roads for wildlife. Let's say it wasn't you that was driving. Let's say you're working with your partner and they were driving that morning. Actions taken within 24 hours to control the incident. You could have a little conversation with them. Just, once you get back from work or out in the field, whatever, just be like, hey man, you were going a little too fast there. In the mornings when it's foggy out like that, maybe just go a little bit slower. If we had been going a little bit slower, you probably could have had more time to react to the animals in front of the road. It doesn't have to be anything serious, right? Like you're not meaning to call them out or anything like that, but just something that's worth mentioning. Because maybe they didn't really realize it was that foggy out or that there was going to be animals on the shoulder of the road. So it's just something that's worth mentioning. So in this box here, you can enter any of that down for different actions that you took within 24 hours. So we'll just say that we filled out a near miss form, notified supervisor of incident, and had conversation with partner about driving safely. So that's all there really is to it in regards to filling out a near miss form. This is one of the forms that you'll do most often this summer. Again, with the types, there's all these different types of incidents. So like vandalism, maybe you wake up in the morning and someone stole the jerry can off of your truck, or property damage, equipment damage. So there's a lot of different varieties that you can choose from. For the most part, you're going to be doing a couple near miss forms a week. If anything ever happens with equipment damage or with property damage, then yes, you'll be filling out an equipment damage or property damage incident form for those incidents. But a near miss will be mostly what you'll be doing for this upcoming year. Once you have everything selected and you scroll through, you see that you have all the boxes entered, you have all your information there. You can select this little box right here that says ready to submit and tap the top arrow on the top right of your screen. And this will send it into the Cube system for further review.